Welcome to Your Iconic Image. If you want to take control of your image and be a power player in your space, then this is the show for you. Here we will arm you with tools and information to help you grow your brand on purpose. I'm your host, Marlana Semenza, photographer and visual strategist. Now let's dive into today's episode. I am really excited to talk to my guest today because Deborah Driggs seems to be a successful chameleon. She began as a Playboy Centerfold and Covergirl. She went on to be a Screen Actors Guild member, to later achieving the top 5% in the insurance industry as a member of the Million Dollar Roundtable. Welcome, Deborah.
Hi, thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me this time today.
So here's the thing. You go from the cover of Playboy with Donald Trump, no less, and a very non-conservative industry. And all along your journey, you wind up in insurance at the end of the day. So hit for us some of the highlights of how you got to each place.
Well, I was started out as a performer at a very young age. I was a figure skater, so I learned discipline and coaching really early on. And my goal was to actually go to the Olympics as a figure skater. And so I got most of my life lessons early on from the coaches in my life. They were so influential on really what I consider today a lot of things that really saved me when things got rough, because I had those ingrained in me from a very young age. And I had sport figures as my mentors and people that I looked up to. So I spent my weekends watching, I think at the time in the 70s, it was like the Sports Center or the sports with Howard Cosell, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a sports. And I was obsessed with that show because he would always do a feature on an athlete. So it wasn't just figure skating. It was I was obsessed with the athletic mind and how people were doing just amazing things with very little or very not so great environmental situations. And so I was always like inspired by those stories. And so it'd make me work harder. Like I got up at 4 a.m. and skated before I went to school. And so I would just get up at 4 a.m. and be like, if they can do it, I can do it. And that was the mentality. So cut to when I stopped skating, those lessons were ingrained in my head and that discipline. And so I think that kind of carried me out throughout my life. And so how I ended up in the entertainment business and, was kind of no accident, because my first addiction as a kid was attention. I just wanted everybody's attention, and I would put on shows and do anything. I was just like seeking that so desperately. And so when skating went away, it was just the next step was dance and cheerleading and all of that. And so I landed a spot on a professional cheerleading squad, which propelled me into morning shows, radio shows, talk shows, interviews, promotions. We'd show up at the mall, this professional cheerleading squad, and we'd sign all the little girls' autographs. And so from that, I decided that I wanted to be in the entertainment business. And I remember there was a lot of pushback because I didn't have anybody, there was no nepotism. I didn't have anybody in my life that was an actress or in that business. And so, I got all the reasons why I should not pursue that. I got 1 in a million people become an actress, or 1 in a million people do this or that. And I thought, well, that'll be me. And that was how my mind worked. And, I think because of my age, I was 19 and 20 when I started doing commercials. And because of my age, I had no fear.
Mm.
And I say because of my age, because I think my fear really set in the older I got. The older I got, the more fear I started to get, which is so interesting how that works. But, I just had no fear. And the minute somebody would tell me, no, that's impossible, I'd go, well, there's got to be a way. I just never took no as the final answer. And so sure enough, I took this commercial workshop, and at the end of that workshop, they had agents from all over the LA area come, and you did a live commercial for the agents. And I had 3 agents come up to me that night. I was 21 at this point, and all of them wanted to sign me. And then the one that I signed with Pacific Artists, and they sent me on an audition that week, and I booked it. And it was for a commercial for it was a Japanese commercial for Japan, and it was for a non-dairy coffee creamer. And I booked the commercial, and it was like a 5-day shoot. It was $800 a day. And you would have thought I won the lottery, man. I was screaming when I got that call that I booked it. And I thought, there's no stopping me now. And so then I thought I could do anything. That's it's like, it's good and bad. I just thought I could do anything. And I started going on auditions for TV shows, and I would show up on movie sets and take extra roles. And, I'd be a girl sitting in a bar, and I'd beg the director or the cinematographer. I'd beg, somebody on the set, the PA, I'd be like, see if I can get my SAG card. Just give me one line. And I was relentless like that. And that's like, today, it's really hard to even get on a set, let alone, try to get a SAG card. And so that's the kind of mentality I had. I just thought, I'm on the set, I might as well get a line. And then I kind of got stopped in my tracks. And this is all before Playboy. I went on audition for a TV show at the time called Charles in Charge, starred Scotty Baio. And I went on the show for a reoccurring part I think it was to play his girlfriend. This was so many years ago. So I think I'm remembering it correctly, but I remember I went to the Universal lot and met with the casting director. I think his name was Marvin or Melvin. Really nice man. And I went into his office, and he's like, how are you? Tell me about yourself. We did the whole thing. And he's like, okay, go ahead. Are you ready to read? And I said, sure. So I get up and I start to read for the part, and he just stopped me in my tracks. And he's like, girl, come here, sit down. And he's like, when you walked into this office, I would have hired you on the spot, because you have the personality and you have the look, but you don't know how to act. And I took that very seriously. And I said, what do you suggest I do? And he said, get yourself in an acting class and learn how to act, because you don't have the audition skill, but you have everything else, because he goes, but you need to learn how to act. And I believe in the fact that if you learn, you'll do really well. And I was young. And so I took his advice very seriously, and I enrolled myself immediately into a 2-year Meisner technique that I asked around and found out that this was probably the best acting school to go through. And it was 2-year commitment. And so while I was doing that, I get a call from my agent that I should go and audition for this new book that Playboy is coming out with called The Lingerie Book. And I said, oh, really? I go, Playboy? I go, well, is there nudity? And she goes, I don't think so. It's for the cover. So I go to the famous building that I had driven by 1,000 times on Sunset. And I went in and signed in, and they gave me a robe and told me to take everything off, and that they were going to do a Polaroid. And I said, well, I'm not here for that. I'm here for the cover of the lingerie book or whatever. They're like, well, everything we do is new. We see your body, so we need to look. Now, just to help people understand, back then, they were looking for scars, tattoos, birthmarks, piercings. That was a big deal in 1989. That was, what now today, it wouldn't matter if you had 30 scars or if you had 30 tattoos. But back then it was a big deal. Mm-hmm. And because there wasn't a lot of airbrushing, and you couldn't slide to the left and clear everything up, there was no filter, so to speak. And so I went in the bathroom and I thought about it, and I thought, well, I'm going to leave my undergarments on. I'm not going to take everything off. I'm not doing that, So it's just funny when I look back on this whole thing. And so I come out in my bra and panties, and I do the Polaroid. It doesn't go well at all. And I leave, and I think, oh God, they're not going to ever hire me. So I just wrote it off. And that afternoon, I got a call that they were interested in shooting me to be a centerfold. And I said, I think they're confusing me with another girl there. I don't think so, because it didn't. And then I called my agent. She's like, no, it's true. They want to shoot you to be a centerfold. And I thought, oh my God, that's crazy, And so after discussing it with the people that were representing me in my life at the time, we all decided that it was a good thing for me to do, because at that time, Playboy was the #1 magazine in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody wanted to be in the magazine. And when I got to the set and started shooting my layout, the makeup artist and I got to know each other really well. Obviously, we worked together for a few months, and she told me that they got over 1,000 submissions a day from girls all around the world trying to get into the magazine. And I didn't realize, I just didn't know. I'm from LA. I'd already been working and doing commercials and print work. And so I just didn't realize, what a big deal it was until I was really involved in doing it. And it really did. It changed everything. Because I remember the minute my issue came out, everybody wanted to meet with me. My agent was getting calls left and right, even if we don't have a part for her, we want to meet with her,
Mm-hmm.
And then I got booked on the Oprah Winfrey Show. I did the Bob Hope special in Acapulco. It was like, because I was right in a time where everything just flowed. And then don't forget, while I'm doing this layout, I'm in this 2-year Meisner acting program. So I'm shooting this. So while my issue comes out and I'm halfway through my first year of acting class, and everybody's like, you're in Playboy, oh my God. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm trying to be taken seriously as an actress. And I'm in this acting class, and now everybody's like, and then the following month I'm on the cover, and they're like, so it was an interesting time, because here I was trying to be taken very seriously as an actress. My phone is ringing, little cut to a little real life situation. And so I'm trying to be taken seriously as an actress, and then all this Playboy stuff is starting to happen. And the thing that was really cool about it is that, I booked my first film, and it was all because I was studying and trying to be better as an actress. And again, here was another opportunity for me to have a coach in my life,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody who could see right through the like she saw, okay, I had the gusto, the
sheer determination.
the sheer determination, and the the chutzpah, the like, I just would keep going, even if things got really bad. I just kept going. I had that mindset. And so, but again, she would say, if you really take this seriously and really do the work, you could have a really good career. And so I finished the 2 years. I met my husband in acting class. And so that was kind of not a setback. It was a great thing that I met him, but I didn't take it. I kind of slid away from the seriousness of what I was doing. And so I was picking and choosing what auditions. And I remember the last TV show I did, I think it was like in 1998, I did a show called Nightstand. And then after that, I thought, I'm just going to stick with doing commercials, because I was starting a family and I was married, and so that kind of slowed down. And then we decided in 2003, we were going to move to Park City, Utah, and raise our kids in a small town environment. And a year later, I was going through a divorce. So now I'm 40 years old. I'm broke, 3 young kids, and I have to figure out how to bring a paycheck in. And all I've ever done is go on auditions and work in a business that I had a lot of confidence in and success. And now I'm like on my knees getting divorced. Like, okay, now what do I do? And so I had to reinvent myself several times. I took random jobs here and there. I worked in a spa. I organized people's closets. I mean, I did everything and anything to make money. And then in Park City, I had friends visiting from New York and LA, and they would want to look at property. And so I decided that I was going to get my real estate license and be prepared that if somebody bought a piece of property, that I would be in on that deal. And so I don't know how I knew to do this, but I interviewed the top 3 realtors in Park City and chose to be an assistant to them rather than me trying to build a business and compete with those. Those are the people that I wanted to work with. And so I thought, well, why not just be their assistant? And so one of them I met, we had breakfast and we hit it off right away. And I said, let me just be very honest right off the start. I've never worked in an office. I don't even think I know how to work a fax machine. I barely know how to do email. Like at that point, it was 2005 or 6. That was all I did was email on a computer. And even that for me was, I didn't know how to do anything fancy except just hit send. And that was it. So he said, are you good with people? And I said, yeah, actually, I'm really good with people. And he said, I have 30 listings and I'm really burned out on managing those people. If you could manage the people in my life and manage the listings and make sure that everything's getting done, I'll teach you how to do everything else. And so we came up with a whole agreement and how we were going to work together. And with working with him, I've realized that not only did I have a skill with dealing with people and managing people, but I was really organized. Like what would take a normal person 2 weeks to get done, I could get done in a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really, I knew I had some skills, but I didn't know how they would work in business. I was really good at managing my family and my life and my kids and their schedule, but I didn't know how that would work in business. And so we formulated this team and we worked really well together. And I learned so much. I learned marketing. He taught me how to build flyers, and all of a sudden now I know how to work all the machines. And I did call those people every day, those listings, and I started managing those listings. And then I would sit open houses and other people would come and say, I want you to list my house to me. And I'd walk back to the office with a $3 million listing and I'd go up to the girls. It's funny too, because I know that it's been so many years, but I know that if I said this story, they'd all laugh and go, yeah, it's true. Because I'd walk in and go, that machine that you could put the paper in and then it goes directly to my email, that thing, and you press the button and they're like, the scanner? I'm like, yeah, can you help me scan this in? Can you just show me how to do it again? And, and I learned how to do all that. And it sounds crazy, but I mean, that's how my life was. It was almost kind of a comedy, because here I had this $3 million listing, but I didn't know how to use a scanner to scan it in to my email. But I learned how to do all of that.
And that seems to be a constant that I'm hearing in this whole story is your constant ability to say, yep, I can do that. And then learning.
Yeah. Yeah. And I said this, I say this a lot in my life because I really believe it, unless I really want to be in control of something. But I think I take direction really well. Like if somebody says, if you just do it like this, you'll have a little bit more success. And I really take that to heart. Like when the guy told me, go learn how to act, I took that to heart and did it. And I find that, if I really just want to be in control of something, I may not take direction so well. But for the most part, 80% of the time, if somebody gives me a valuable direction, I listen, because I don't know all the answers and I'm constantly growing and learning. But what that real estate job and team taught me was that I did have a place at the table in business. I made a place for myself, and I was learning and growing. And even though 2008 happened, and then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, now what? Because our market was the first to go. Second home, luxury, multi-million was overnight, just done. And nothing was selling. And I had to start over again. And then I went into the print procurement business, another business that was struggling because everything was going digital.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tried to make that work and worked in that job for 18 months. But while I was working in that job and all of a sudden I started reaching out to more and more people. And because, I have so many great, my phone is so valuable to me because I have some really great connections. And because of the entertainment background I have, I was able to get meetings with Universal and Warner Brothers for this print procurement business. And so, but through that, I reached out to someone that had done my husband and I's life insurance. And I called them and I said, now I'm getting a little more savvy. I had referred them a lot of business. And I said, I refer you a lot of business. I said, what if I get a referral fee at this point? I said, I'll refer more business. I thought, I'll have a side job. I'll refer them business and be a referral agent. And they said, no, go get your license. And then I thought about it. I was like, okay. And so here we go on the weekends. Now I'm studying and I go and I get my license for life insurance and life settlement. I did both. And I didn't really jump in full time until around July 2011. And by mid 2012, I was the number one agent. And I was now in the top percent and I qualified to be in the Million Dollar Roundtable. And that is only because, not because I'm such a brilliant expert on life insurance, but because I did not put my phone down until I had at least one deal a day. And I just was relentless because I never wanted to be in a position where I couldn't provide for my kids. They were now living with me. I had full custody at this point. And I just knew that it was just us. And I had to make sure, my whole goal, and this is what I was putting in the universe, was, God, if you could just get me through the college years, just get me through the college years, and that happened. I got my kids through the college years. And so now I'm finding, be really careful what you say, because what you put out there is what you get. And because that's all I kept focusing on, was if I can just get my kids through school and provide for them. And I would say things like, I just want to be able to do this, or, and so now I'm a little bit more careful. It's not that I say, I want a big mansion and I want, it's not about that. It's just really being careful now about what I put out energy wise. And then, because now my kids are adults, they're young adults. And so all of that happened, I was able to provide for my kids, and I had a lot of success my first 3 years in life insurance. And I realized that I didn't have to be the expert in life insurance. It all went back to, are you good with people? And so when people would ask me, well, what do you do? In the beginning, I would say, I sell life insurance. And then I started to realize if I really wanted to add value to what it is that I do, I had to come up with a better pitch or a better explanation of what I do in a really fast way, because you only have 3 seconds with people really to let them know what it is you're doing. So I would say, well, I provide people with something that protects them in case of an unexpected life event. Then there's like, well, what is that? What do you do? And then there's a little bit more curiosity. Than to say I sell life insurance is not very sexy. But when you say I prepare people for unexpected life events, that has a whole different ring, has a whole different meaning. And then all of a sudden, a little more interest on how that works. And then, I would have articles to back it up. It's like Forbes magazine came out right after I got my license with an article that said life insurance is the last remaining tax-free vehicle. Forbes magazine. So I took that article and I'd say, if Forbes magazine is selling my product, then why not use it? So
Right.
you use whatever you can. And then, for me, it started out where I was just calling everybody in my phone, really just begging for people to switch over to me and my services, to getting to a place where people would just say, oh, you need to call Deborah.
Mm-hmm.
And then people were just referring. And then the minute I got in with business managers and I got in with family offices, and that just propelled me into a whole different world. And where, then now we're using the number one bank with premium financing, and all of these different elements started taking place. And that just propelled me into a whole different segment of what I was doing. It wasn't just, well, let me sell you $1 million term policy because you have 3 kids. And now it became a wealth building vehicle. And so that's, I think, where my success came from, is just the continual learning, continual growing, continual, hustling, using whatever I could, to propel into the next.
So along the way, would you say that you kept building upon the brand that you had established, or was it a continual reinvention?
With life insurance, it's there's not really too much, like I think about it a lot on, with different companies, there's always an upsell or more value you can add. But with life insurance, it's pretty straightforward. Everybody needs it. I would say 90% of people need it. It's not a difficult sell. You either want it or believe in it, or you don't. Mm-hmm. So I don't even waste my time with, if somebody doesn't believe in life insurance, I'm not going to waste my energy there, because you either do or you don't. It's right. Not. So it's a different kind of sell, in my opinion. It's for people that believe and want to protect their family, or people that need key man, or people, mm-hmm. It's like there's very specific things. So how do we add value in our company, in our partnership, is we have our own private doctor. Mm-hmm. We make sure everything looks good before we do anything formally. I mean, we have our own system that we use, and it works really well. We have very.
But how about you personally? Did each time that you leaped into a new area, did you build upon what you had already established as far as who you were? Or did you say, okay, well, I'm going to put actress behind me and do this next thing and build myself out as this particular brand? And now that I've done Playboy, I'm going to now put that behind me and reinvent myself as a real estate agent. Or did you continuously kind of pull that same thread all the way through?
No, different threads, for sure. Different threads. Entertainment business was one thread. Mm-hmm. Real estate, one thread. As a matter of fact, a lot of people while I was doing real estate and print and insurance, very few people even knew that I did Playboy. And when they found out, they'd be like, really? You did Playboy? Like, they couldn't even wrap their mind around it because of the way I conducted myself in business. And I don't mean, and by the way, I don't, just, how it is, when you meet somebody and you have an idea of who they are, and then you find out something completely random and you go, wow, really? Like, mm-hmm. It'd be like if you told me that you were an expert pole dancer, I'd be like, wow, really? Okay. It's like when it comes out of nowhere.
Right.
And people, and it's funny because I'd be in meetings, especially in New York, I'd be in meetings and I could always tell the one person that knew, that would just would be looking at me differently and really laser focused in on whatever I was saying. And then sure enough, after the meeting, they'd come up to me and go, so what was the mansion like? And I'd be like, how did they find out? But I just would always be like, oh, I loved going to the mansion, and I just because you can't take it seriously. If I take it seriously, or if I get like weirded
Right.
out, then they'll be weirded out. And so,
So if somebody is looking to do what you have done and completely reinvent who they are, what they do, how they're perceived, what would be advice that you would give to them?
to don't wait, do it. I remember just thinking my mindset at 40 was so off, because I really felt I'm too old. This was at 40. I'm 57 now and I'm still reinventing myself. But at 40, I was like, oh my God, it's over. I can't believe I didn't make it. I didn't do all the things I said I was going to do. And here I am struggling. I can barely put groceries in the fridge, and I'm working 2 jobs, and I've got 3 kids, and I'm a failure. And I was just so hard on myself. So don't do that. Like, don't, if anything, and this is what I write about in my book, is don't, you can start over at any age. I completely started over again during the pandemic. I thought, okay, this is my opportunity to write a book, and I do something now that I never thought I would do. I write a blog, a weekly blog, and it's one of the most favorite things I've ever done. And you know what I mean? Like, if somebody would have told me that 10 years ago, oh, you're going to be writing a weekly blog, I would have said, no, I don't write, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And now here I do. I've written over 40 blogs at this point, and it's something I love doing. Like, I look forward to doing it, and I would have never guessed that. And writing my book was not easy. It was a very difficult process, because I went through, it's like, one of the things I say is that it all looks good when it's working well and it looks successful. And I remember when I applied for the Million Dollar Roundtable, and I qualified for it, and I didn't even take the time to be like, oh my God, I was just like, oh, okay. I didn't want to celebrate because I was so nervous that it was all going to be taken away.
Mm.
I was like, I was living in such fear of everything. Of financial fear was a big thing. But I just did an interview where they said it was all about, what was the one hurdle you had to overcome? And for me, it was financial fear.
Mm.
And I never knew that I had so much fear around money until I started making a different kind of money. When I started really making money, all of a sudden I was like, I don't know what to do with this money.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I remember, like, just for months not knowing, well, what should I do with it? And then I thought, I have fear, or I have financial fear. I have fear around money. And I never really knew that about myself, because I always made enough to get by
Mm-hmm.
and maybe have a little extra, and but I never had more than enough, so to speak. And where you now have to kind of figure out what you're going to do with it. I didn't. And so all of a sudden I had this fear. And so what I realized is, okay, this is an opportunity to go and learn and grow about money, like really dive into what does it really mean to have money. And what came out of that for me is I realized it's a spiritual game. So the opportunity it allows me now, in the beginning, I was like, oh, great, I can buy as many pairs of shoes as I want. That lasted for about 5 minutes. And then I was bored to death. And I actually wrote a blog about it. I have a whole closet full of shoes that I don't even wear. And so that got really old quick. And so what it does for me now is it gives me the opportunity to just give back. And that's the whole purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It's a spiritual game, and the whole secret to living is giving. And it's, if my success can then help somebody else, that's more fulfilling than looking at a closet full of shoe boxes.
Mm-hmm. Love that. What do you think would be the next reinvention for you?
Well, right now, which is funny, I think I have come completely full circle. So I am right back where I started in 1983, where I'm doing print work. I just worked on a film last week, a small part in a really beautiful film that I worked on. And like I said, I write a weekly blog. I have 3 books that I'm publishing that will be coming out next year. I formed my own publishing company because I'm self-publishing. And I am just really enjoying this time and my like embracing where I am right now. It's so cool to be 57 and go, oh, I'm just getting started.
Love that.
Yeah,
Absolutely love that.
it's so cool. Like I try very, very hard. It's a daily practice of just not going into that fear mode and to go, it's okay. It's okay. This will pass. There's going to be moments where it's going to feel a little scary. And so, yeah, once I got over the financial fear, then there's there's always something to be working on.
Sure.
I've never woke up and went, got it all figured out. It's great. Like, there's nothing to work on today. It's like,
what would be the fun in that?
Yeah, it's like that just doesn't happen, and that I think, when I was in my younger years, I always felt like, well, when I do this, this, and this, I'll have made it, or I will have gotten to where in my mind I think I want to be. And that just, it never happened like that. Even when I got success, it never happened. It's like, that just makes you want to grow more or do something else. And it's funny because there's a saying, people will say, the more money you make, the more problems you'll have. And I disagree. I think the more money you make, the more opportunities you have. And it's just deciding which opportunities you want to jump on. And for me now, it offers me the ability to go on Virgin Unite trips, or go look at a school in Peru that needs money, or take my kids on a month in Italy, or, it's about opportunity at that point. It's not problems, it's opportunities.
Love that. And with that, Deborah, I just have 4 final questions for you.
Okay.
First one is, what's the best piece of advice you were ever given?
The best piece of advice I was ever given. To stay in my heart and out of my head.
Share with us one thing on your bucket list.
Antarctica.
Okay, when the toy companies finally get around to making an action figure of you, what 2 accessories will it come with?
An action figure of me? What accessory?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a hard one. Okay. An action figure of me with an accessory. Well, it's going to have a power ring.
That would make perfect sense.
Where I spread the love or something.
Perfect sense.
No more negativity.
And the last one, how do people find you?
My website, DeborahDriggs.com.
Perfect.
And everything is on my website, all my social media links, all my blogs. So if you're interested in reading my blogs, I started 6 weeks ago. So I just posted my 6th blog yesterday called Gut Feeling. And every week I come out with a weekly blog. And if you subscribe to my weekly, I send a personal letter every week to people who are subscribed to my website. And then you'll be updated when my books are coming out.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. And thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. Once again, I'm Marlana Semenza, photographer and visual strategist. Please comment, like, or share this episode, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. For more information on how I can help you create your iconic image, visit marlanasemenza.com.